Hey guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Chris, and today we're gonna do something a little different. I know I like to talk me all them horror bashy stuff with them killer dolls and whatnot, but I like me serious films, quality films that if you were at a restaurant, you'd go, compliments to the chef. And one of those films happens to be Christopher Nolan's new upcoming movie, Tenet. I seem to have figured out possibly what this movie could mean. I've cracked the code, I've seen the cast listings, I've looked at the poster, but in case I sound crazy, I decided to bring a friend with me who is also well-rounded that might be able to square me out if I'm talking crazy.
Chris, thank you so much for having me today, man. I am Austin Burke. On my channel, I do movie reviews and comic book related videos, tier lists, all of those wonderful things. But when you messaged me and talked about this movie and said, I want you to come on here and help me explain this and tell me if I'm crazy or not, I said, Chris, that is the best possible thing you could have asked me, because ever since this title was announced, I have had theories and speculation on my end, and I cannot wait to talk about it today, man. Thanks once again for having me on your channel.
Oh, no problem, Austin. I brought you here for a reason, so let's just go ahead and dive into this and see if I'm crazy. The very first thing I want to get into is the title of the movie, Tenet. Now, that's not usually a word that gets thrown around here and there, but I'm going to read you the definition before I go into my theory, just so you can understand my state of mind. Now, the definition of Tenet, as per Google, goes by a principle or belief, especially one of the main principles of a religion or philosophy. Now, just from that title alone, it's like, okay, well, I guess it's from a belief, from philosophy. Pair that up, though, however, with the poster they released just a few days back. I'll put it on the screen here, and you can obviously tell we have a clock, some sort of watch that's going into a downward spiral. Now, I see this, and the definition of the movie Tenet, I'm thinking this movie has to do with the illusion of time, because if you think about it, Austin, time isn't real. It's a construct that us humans made up. So I believe that Christopher Nolan's new movie is probably going to have to deal with time travel in a sort. Now, before continuing on, how do you feel about this so far, where I'm headed?
Well, I don't want to throw out my thoughts just yet, because I, as you do, have a massive theory about this movie. But the concept of time travel, I will just say, has been explored before in Christopher Nolan's movies. So he knows what he's doing, but which route is he going to go? So far, so good on this, Chris, and I am very interested to see where this actually leads us with this movie.
And I'm actually very happy you mentioned that, because that's very true. Christopher Nolan has had a big interest in time in his movies. Now, let's go back to Inception. Now, I know you're thinking, well, that movie was about dreams. That wasn't really about times, but Christopher Nolan messed with the idea of time with how time worked inside of the dream. Every time we get deeper and deeper in beautiful Leonardo DiCaprio's head, time slows down quite a bit. So that's one time in his films where he did something with time. And another one, most obvious, Interstellar, where by the end of that movie, he was basically in a time machine in space that really wasn't a machine. But I mean, Christopher Nolan has been hinting that he's a man very interested in with the construct of time, and it has me to believe he's going to fully explore it and make it the full revelation of this film.
When it comes to what he's done with the movies before we actually get into our thoughts on where this movie could head, I love the concept of time travel. I love the concept of infiltrating someone's dream. But in my opinion, he kind of has to distance himself from what he has done so far, take the idea of time travel, and move it in a new direction. It has been 9 years, and when this movie comes out, 10 years since Inception. So he had a classic 10 years ago. I feel like this could be another classic, but it all comes down to, what do you do with the idea of time travel, and how do you bring us something that we have never seen before? I trust Nolan to do it, but which route is he going to go down?
And I like that. And I mean, I also don't think it's a coincidence, and maybe this is just far of a reach for me, but Tenet, I mean, it does have the word 10 in it. And if you look at the poster, the number 10 is the only thing highlighted in it. I don't know if that has anything to do with the movie, but I have to believe there's an important reason they did that.
Oh, man. I love that. Yeah, oh, dude. Well, you pointed out the 10 in the title. Now, I liked what you said, right? But my concept of where that could lead us is a bit different, but that gave me more credence to my possible predictions on this movie. So it was a great point to bring up.
All right, Austin. Well, you've been hinting enough. Let me hear what you think Christopher Nolan's next movie is going to be about, based on everything that we've been given, which is breadcrumbs.
Yeah, we've literally been given the bare minimum of what they can give us. So this is, and I want to establish this is going out on a complete limb. And I don't know if Nolan would do this, but if he did do this, it would be awesome. So you have Inception, you have Interstellar, and now you have Tenet. See, these, in my opinion, you have The Prestige, of course, and it's very similar in themes, but those three movies, and including the potential of what Tenet could be, they all feel very similar to me. And you have time travel that was explored in Interstellar. You have a very interesting concept explored in Inception, so you take what makes those movies great, you bring it to Tenet, but you set Tenet in the same world as Inception. See, my opinion, and when you said 10 is in the title, well, it's been 10 years since Inception, and this movie drops in July, which is the same month. And we know that Nolan, he loves that month, but this is the same month that Inception came out. What if Michael Caine is the same character that Michael Caine played in Inception, and what if those two movies tie into each other, but not just those two movies? What if this is the trilogy capper to Inception and Interstellar, and Nolan finds a way, because he's been writing this movie for so long, to tie all three movies within each other? I saw a tweet, I saw an article, and I believe this was part of an official statement of Warner Brothers, but they used the word Inception, not pertaining to the movie per se, but pertaining to how crazy Tenet could get. But what if that Inception in that description could tie it in to the actual movie? And what if this is an unofficial or official sequel or third movie in the possible trilogy of Christopher Nolan's crazy sci-fi, experimental, and possible classic movies? Chris, those are my thoughts. I know a lot of people are going to say I'm crazy, but I think all three of those movies could end up tying into each other.
Austin, you just did the equivalent of wearing a white dress to another woman's wedding. This is my video. You were not supposed to upstage me. I did not hear your theory before we got it rolling because I just wanted to be genuinely surprised. And if you could have seen my face, jaw to the ground, I didn't even think about that. You're right. 10 years later, the 10 highlighted, Inception being one of his most talked about movies. I think the movie that really brought everyone to the conversation, to the idea that, whoa, Christopher Nolan can make some twisty originality films here, and a secret sequel here? Man, I could see it. I mean, even in those scenes with Inception where they're bending time, I mean, not bending time, bending reality, and this right here, bending a clock, and Michael Caine's being in this cast, possibly playing the same character, and I guess Robert Pattinson may be playing another mind bandit stealing information like Leonardo DiCaprio's character. I think you cracked it, Austin. Forget my theory. Oh man, I would love it if that was the case.
You brought it up just now, another point, and you're kind of feeding into my theory here. You brought up the 10 in Tenet, and now the bending clock in the poster, and you bring up what they did with elements of that world in Inception and really bending reality, right? And you have this bending clock. What does it all mean? Well, it could be something that we have never seen before, something brand new, but man, there's just too much here. And I know we're working off breadcrumbs, but there's so much leading me to believe that this could tie into that movie, if not both of them.
Because, I mean, if you think about it, no other Christopher Nolan movie has been sort of marketed or information let out in this sort of fashion. You go back to Inception or Stellar or even Dunkirk, everything was just pretty simple. Christopher Nolan's working on a World War II biopic. Christopher Nolan's working on a spaceship epic. Where Christopher Nolan's working on a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. In this movie, it seems pretty secretive. They tell you the cast, they don't tell you the plot, but they give you a poster and the title of the movie. This could be a little secrecy of a Nolan verse going on. But I think you might be right.
And it just reminds me. Do you remember that very first Inception poster that we saw? And I believe it was the spinning top that was on the poster, but you just had the black surrounding it and Inception with very thin letters as the title on the poster. This poster just reminds me of that announcement poster, man. I'm getting all of the same feelings I got from Inception. And maybe we're just looking too far into this, and maybe it's just Nolan has another idea up his sleeve and he wants to tease the audience. But that's what these videos are all about, Chris. We want to look into it to this degree, and man, I'm telling you, there could be something here.
That's good. Okay, so you guys heard it here first. Austin gave his theory. I gave mine. My thinking here is going to be a movie revolving around with the illusion of time, probably including some sort of time bandits. Christopher Nolan doing some warping with that, but Austin here is thinking that this is a secret sequel to Inception in that same world. The 10-year later, the name Tenet, the 10 on the poster. What do you guys think? Who's the more crazy one here? Who's the one that's more right? But really, before making all that decision, be sure to go check out my friend Austin's channel. The reason I stick with him is because if you see anything on Netflix pop up, guarantee you 10 minutes later that boy has a review on it. So anything you see on Netflix and you wonder, is that good? Austin's got a review for you.
Chris, thank you so much for having me, man. No, he's absolutely right. His theory, my theory, I hope that could come to fruition, but we just don't know. That's the beauty of a speculation video. Chris, once again, thank you for having me on there. Like you said, I'm always reviewing movies and TV shows and Netflix, every Netflix movie I can, every Netflix series. But Chris, you are the boss, man. You are so great at what you do. Keep doing it. You guys, you have somebody really good here. Follow him until the end of time. You see what I did there? That was a pun.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, Austin. Well, thank you guys for sticking around. Be sure to like and subscribe. Leave us your theories about what you think this movie's about. You know I'm curious, and Austin will probably be snooping around the comment section to see if you said anything mean. As always, guys, I've been Chris. Take care.